All right, we're going live. I assume you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay. Hello, folks. Uh, Today we're going to talk about what if the breathtaking palaces, cathedrals, and the stone giant monuments of the past weren't just built by poor horse and buggy populations we were told about, but instead are leftovers from a previous civilization, and the ruins between the Shell says ready. How do we sound, Shell? Are the Tony
Hello,
speak?
Shell.
Is our
How you
volumes
doing?
even? So that these but instead are leftovers from a war torn war of the gods or angels or even alien beings. Look at the empty streets of past photos, the giant scale of the doorways, the 1,000-ton domes supposedly built in 2 years without cranes or power tools. Tonight, we're going to break down, I guess, the various views that the mainstream refuses to talk about. So, we've put together a series of photos. Shell says hi.
Hello.
Um, we put together a series of photos, and I've put together a slideshow video showing off some of the architecture of the past. And what we'd like to do is to compare and contrast it with what we're doing now. And bear in mind that these people were working with much lesser tools, with no power, no electricity. They didn't have railways, they didn't have paved roads, they didn't have semi trucks. And the monumentalness of their builds, their architecture, it's just pure opulence. And it just seems in contrast to what we build now, which is cold and ugly in a lot of cases and banal. It just seems strange. And so we're going to take a look at it and talk about, what we think. And we would like to hear what you guys have to think. So I brought this up to Tony, and what's your first reaction to it?
Well, I think there's two issues. One of them is that, uh, especially in the era of communism, if you're just talking about now, their idea about architecture is to make you depressed and sad and dread, and because they want you to fear the government. But that's just one angle. There's also the I would say, you know, it's just a lack of taste of modern culture for one thing, not just the any possible theories about them being reclaimed structures from the past, but just what we're building now. When we do have the ability to build those things and we don't, it's sort of depressing. If you look at Versailles and you look at the ancient palaces in Egypt and Greece, and Versailles wasn't that long ago. That was around the American Revolution, the 1770s, and in the what is the other palace that the artwork is in? The
The
Louvre.
Louvre. Yeah.
That was the main palace, and they moved that because of it was dangerous to live there because the peasants kept breaking in. So they moved it out to the country, and Versailles is even more grand and bigger. But I went to the Louvre and Versailles both, and the size of them is just overwhelming. The Louvre, when you drive down, for example, you drive down next to it, where the Arch of Triumph and all that stuff is. And you keep going, and when you're driving next to it, it takes literally 2 minutes to drive past it. It is a mile long, and you're in a car going 30 miles an hour. You're driving for 2 minutes. That's in just the volume inside the building is just amazing.
The amount of
And then
materials.
yes, and it's stone. Everything's stone. It's not concrete. Uh,
And that's where I really um like we just couldn't afford to build in that manner these days. It would be astronomical in price. Um, the scale and the precision of the ancient monuments, it just defies logic. They're building everything out of stone, and they're transporting it tremendous distances, and they just don't have the infrastructure.
mhm.
Um, it really kind of defies logic. So I guess the first area I'd like to look at is um, basically the impossible architecture and scale. Like I was saying, these buildings defy timelines. In America alone, we're told that the Library of Congress, the U.S. Capitol Dome, and the Chicago's World Fair, the White City, were all built in 2 to 3 years. Built and taken down in eras without electricity, without modern cranes, without mass labor. The costs of just the marble and granite alone would have bankrupted the cities. I mean, they just didn't have the kind of money to do this kind of stuff. It doesn't add up, basically, in my mind.
Well, what the powers that be, the people who are claiming how they actually did it, and this is what Grok says, and it doesn't look like that to me. But they said, well, they made it out of light materials. But you couldn't make a large building that had stress structures and large roofs over large periods of large areas without any reinforcement to stand up if it was made out of these light materials that they claim it was. Because this is what Grok says there is. But the building itself, you look at it, it would just collapse in on itself. Was made this way.
Well,
Temporary construction
and
material.
I will argue against that because some of the buildings from the White City are still intact, and
Yeah, that's
they're made of
so
solid
that
stone.
so I don't I'm having a hard time believing that those buildings, because plus they stood up there for years while they're building them, and Chicago has sort of crappy weather. And you think if they were just building them out of light materials, temporary, sets like at a movie lot, that they would fall down.
And they would
Let's
also
say,
fall down under the weight of all the people that would then transverse them.
yeah,
But
this is says
most
right here.
important, go ahead.
I just want to say what they're saying about it, and there's no proof of this. This is just Grok looking into stuff. Most structures were not permanent and were used as staff, a lightweight, moldable composite or plaster of Paris mixed with hemp or jute fibers applied over wooden lathe frames. This allowed for quick forming and elaborate neoclassic facades, columns, domes without heavy stonework, enabling assembly in weeks rather than months. Uh, it didn't look like that to me because I have pictures of it, and it doesn't look like a set.
And again, many of the because the area where it's built, some of the buildings were left intact, and even if all that was said is true, the buildings that were left remaining are stone buildings, and they couldn't
Mm-hmm.
be constructed. They're solid stone and granite buildings, and so they couldn't be constructed in the time frames. Those buildings alone couldn't be constructed by us in those time frames now, and so I find it. I think that what we're really looking at, and this is what I think is the truth, I don't have any proof of this. This is just my opinion. Is that this was some pre-existing structure that we cleaned up in 2 to 3 years for the World's Fair, and part of that cleaning up process was looting it and taking away the valuable material and then demolishing it. And those stones and all of that stuff were then reutilized to build the new city. It was recycled. And that's what I think happened in all of these areas. And and it's not just the World Fair. All of these, I have a video that I made that I sent to you, going back to the 1400s. These buildings were all built in astronomical speeds, and for the time period, they just don't seem possible. And the facades and the materials used, everything is made of granite and marble, and then covered in gold and copper. It doesn't make any sense. Even when you look at the Statue of Liberty, really, it doesn't make sense. It's a giant, humongous chunk of copper. The That's what they were building back in the 1700s. Everything was like that. We don't build anything like. When's the last time we constructed a, a 200-foot tall woman that people can walk around on the inside of? When was the last time we sculpted something like that? It hasn't happened in a couple of 100 years. And so I'm very, very skeptical of, that, again, they're building in these materials that today would be impossible to afford. And the craftsmanship that is put into every detail of these things far exceeds what we do now. And it doesn't just seem like we're not doing it because we're in this depressive state and we don't have the ability to do it at that scale. And for some reason they were able to do it at scale. That it's not that we couldn't do one off. It's that, when you look at Egypt, and you look, and supposedly that's a 5,000-year-old complex. Every inch of it is sculpted. Every inch of it is a piece of artwork. It held up, at least 5,000 years. Nothing we build now does that. And it's just, when you think of it in that context, that these were primitive people, supposedly.
Well, I'll just give you. Let's just look at that. I wish I could zoom in on it, but I can't. I guess I can. Hold on.
Here, let me zoom in on you real quick.
Okay, I've been to Versailles, and I got to walk in a hall of mirrors. It is quite.
And what is it?
I'll show you a picture of it real quick, and you just need to see the size of the people in it. This is just a hallway inside the palace, and everything is covered in gold. Everything. It's like crazy. They don't let you touch anything because the walls are priceless. They have,
yeah, you'd loot it.
You could, yes, you, and so they have armed guards there at all time. I mean, the statues and everything are all covered in, everything's in gold. The chandeliers are all crystal.
Just the opulence of it is.
And all the stonework is it's all marble. And if you just look even around the windows and the ornate, it's just unbelievable. Just simple things like the window panes and the frames around the window are gold. I mean, they're crazy. And the pictures do not do it justice one bit. When you're there, you're so in awe of it that you don't even want to leave. You just want to stay there and stare at it for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, the pictures are not the best here. They keep flashing ads, and I can't. Let me go back. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm gonna just see if I can find a good picture of the Hall of Mirrors. Okay, I had one, but it's just they just keep putting ads up in front of it, so it's irritating.
These buildings defy the timeline. In America alone, I already covered this, blah, 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 in an era of, okay, so when we look at the buildings like Göbekli Tepe, which is 11,000 years old, we're talking about 30 and 50-ton rocks to build this structure. Supposedly, there was only a million people on Earth. How did you get the tools to carve these giant granite stones. It doesn't make sense. And you got Pumapunku, which is built of 100-ton stones cut like machine parts and then fitted together. Um, Again, the the skill to do this stuff, we can't do that. The Great Pyramid, I mean, obviously everyone knows that. When it was constructed, when it was finished, the casing stones were much like a lot of these other structures. You couldn't fit, like a sheet of paper through them. Even now, the remaining ones that are still intact are like that. Just the level of fit and finish on these monuments defies logic. The U.S. Capitol dome has 8.9 million pounds of cast iron in it, supposedly finished in 2 years. Again, no cranes, no drills, no power tools of any kind. 8.9 million pounds. The Library of Congress, 1897, is basically constructed of marble, granite, and bronze. It's built faster than a modern mall. I mean, again,
Well, they had really strong horses.
yes, the Chicago World Fair, even if it was made of temporary resources, it was 200 plus gigantic buildings. 200 buildings built in 2
It was
years.
200. It was 200 gigantic buildings, plus a total of 1,500 buildings, including the small ones, like sheds
So,
and things like that.
so you're talking about in 2 years. That's a city. They built a city. If you were even constructing a city out of wood and you had to build 200, now again, this is 1893. There's no roads. The railway hasn't gone through there. It doesn't make the materials. How do they get the material? Like, think of the logistics of bringing in all that material. How many people that you would have living there? You would have to build the city to build the city. Um, the streets in this period, when you look at them, there's no people. You'll see this humongous building and a giant road. It's 5 lanes each way, and there's one horse on it, one horse-drawn cart, and like 6 people standing on the sidewalk. The population of Chicago was 1.1 million people in 1890. How does that population build 200 gigantic? And when I'm saying gigantic, we're talking 100,000 square foot buildings. Okay, so and so this, and the lastly I would say is, when you look at the buildings, you see that the doorways are 30 feet tall and the doorknob is 12 feet up. Who's using that doorknob? And so there's two questions: is who were they building all this stuff for, and where did they get all the technology to do this? So here we got, I assume, the
That's a Hall of Mirrors, Versailles. It's
see if I
real.
can.
That's not some computer generated image, and that's actual gold.
No, it's just phenomenal. But again, you can even here you can see it. I wish we had a person in there, but you can
Oh,
see
they're
this.
the people are the size of the statues, and those ceilings are just, and the doorways are 3 times as tall as them. Yes, they're gigantic. Um, the
And
statue, I mean, and you can see this. The people in the statues are on pedestals up 4 feet. So those are 10-foot high statues.
just the amount of gold in here, and then everything is painted. All the ceilings are beautifully painted. The chandeliers are immense, and they're attached by what looks like gold chains. All of everything in here is so ornately and beautifully executed. where is a building like that in modern day?
And because Donald Trump brags about the quality of his buildings. All I have to say is he's got a long way to go.
This thing would be $1 trillion to build. I mean, this is almost
This is
defies.
just a hallway. This is
Right.
just their hallway.
This is just one hallway inside the building, and it's the scale of the hallway, and then all of them. I assume that's marble floor,
Yes.
and it's is the columns on the side stone? Is that
Yes.
what is the white stuff? Is that stone too?
That's marble also. Yes.
So the material costs of this place, it doesn't even make sense when you
Well,
see it.
look, when you on the right hand side, the very right hand side, you'll see the little places where people sit. You see the little chairs? How
Yeah,
tiny they are.
yes.
You go in there, you feel like a midget.
It and this makes a lot more sense it, if the scale of the person that's living here is 2 or 3 times that of a normal human being, and then everything kind of comes together more. If it's a 12 foot, if these statues are 10 feet tall, then a 12 foot person, that makes a little more sense. I mean, the doorways are immense, and it's just the quality of everything is astounding, and that's what I started going down this rabbit hole when I started looking at the stuff. I've done a little building. I've done rehab, and the first thing that figure out when you're building stuff is how much everything costs, wood and labor. You rehab a couple of houses, and you're like, good God, everything's so expensive. And we're
Yeah,
making this.
imagine refurbing your whole house and using, let's say, walnut trim on everything. Just that. Just use walnut trim. You're talking $100,000 for a small house, just the trim, not gold inlaid, and not
Yeah, and
marble
marble.
everything,
Yes. Well, and that's
and
what
Venetian
started.
plaster in the rest of the place because the ceilings are all Venetian plaster, which is super expensive to do. It's where they take marble dust and mix it with a form of plaster, and they polish it they burnish it with a trowel to make it look like real marble on the ceiling, and then they inlay gold and everything on it. It's just, and then they do a fresco over it too. It's like it's we don't have people who can do this. We just don't have anybody who can do this.
And even if we
Um,
could, and I'm sure we do have some people that do this, but the cost would be astronomical. And you look at the biggest mansions that we're cooking up these days. Some of these houses are, nearly $1 billion, $750 million, something like that. And this hallway is more material costs than the most expensive house that you've seen in the Hollywood Hills. They don't have
uh,
gold. They don't have a hallway of gold.
it,
You know how
it's
much this is like more gold than Fort Knox? I mean, it's ridiculous.
and they according to the ancient manuscripts, like the Greeks and the Egyptians did everything like this. That's what the
Yes.
interior of their buildings look like.
And so again, that's the interesting thing about all of this is that one, how come we're supposed to be so advanced? How come we can't do it now? And how were they affording all of this back then?
Granted, he was a king, and all the money came to him, but still, the
Well, but that's the
there's
thing. Let's show the video that I sent you while you're talking.
yes. Where is it? I have
It's
my
in
emails
Google.
open.
I think I just called it Link.
Is it in that Tonight Show live stream script, or is it on a different?
It's a before that one. I sent it like 5:30.
Okay, I see it.
And what I think is interesting is, sure, this is a king, and so you could say, okay, well, this is a superior project, but what you're going to quickly see, and I could have put 100,000 pictures like this, I just, for time's sake, I didn't want to keep going, is that there are so many examples of just absolutely marvelous architecture, and it's all been destroyed. I think that's half the point of these world wars, is to blow all this shit up, because they're trying to hide the fact of the quality of stuff.
Is there sound, Mike?
Yeah, there's some.
Notre Dame.
Oops, that was in there twice, I guess. The music I made. Hey, just look at the scale of these things. Like the whole city. Look at that door. Look at that gate. What do you need a gate for like that for? Look at that building. This, the opulence. It. And you see how sparse they are.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at this stuff. And there's just no people. I mean, this stuff looks truly like I mean, just the quality of everything. It doesn't make sense to me that we don't have this stuff anymore. Look at that stuff.
And it was so elegant and well designed.
Everything is just a beautiful piece of art. It's art upon art. Oops, that's in there twice, I guess.
That's okay. Very Gothic.
See,
that is one impressive building. That is one impressive building, though.
But it looks like it's being dug out of the ground. To me, it is a very beautiful building, but like this door, unfortunately, that's covered up by the thing. But just the amount of sculpture and shit on these things. when I look at that stuff and I think about what it would take to make today, um, it, it it just is so impressive to me. That the stuff that they were doing back then, it is so beautiful. It's so well thought out. It's so well laid out. The craftsmanship is so over the top. It You would think it would take, like, to do that hallway. You would imagine that it had to have 10,000 workers there, and for that, just to not have it all stolen. I mean, just the monumental effort that it takes to make something that good. Like you're saying, in boat building, which is where probably the highest level of luxury construction is, in general. It doesn't even come close to what we were doing in the 1700s. Everything that they were doing in the cities, in our capitals and the major cities, was just phenomenal. There's no volume. You need to switch your volume. What I would like to see is, for these things to be restored. I mean, the photos to color. I think I can hear you.
Okay, testing. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3. I'm back.
So, I mean, what do you think of that video?
I'm impressed with it. I want to show you just one more thing about Versailles and to put into perspective how ridiculous everything was. This is the outside, the garden in the back. Okay, we're going to show that to you. It's hard to comprehend. Okay, well, I'll have to make it smaller again. Let's see. Okay, and in our capital and the way in the I guess the pool and the mall is based on Versailles, but it's a cheap copy, and I'll show you the.
And that's the one of my points is, um, as we're moving forward in time, the techniques get watered down. The stuff in the 1600s is more impressive than the 1700s, and that doesn't really lend itself to this forward progress. And you have to ask the question why. And so I have a theory on why this appears to be happening. In my opinion, is there seems to be some sort of cycle, and I think that they the elites, when they realize that we're waking up to their trickery, they do what they're trying to do now, which is, cause a mass depopulation, which is why they're trying to get everybody to be gay, why they're trying to get everyone sick, why they're trying to purposely drive down the population. And if you get the population down low enough, then the society collapses in on itself, and then they can gobble up all the materials again, and extract all the wealth for them, and then start over with them being the only ones that possess the true history and knowledge of things.
Okay, this is just a garden behind the palace. Each one of these little square areas are a month in the calendar, and there's 12 of them. And this is the wave pool. It goes on for miles afterwards. I mean the reflection pool, and that this is the back porch on Versailles right there. And you can see it's six, one, two, it's 4 stories, and it's just amazing. I mean, look at the size of the grandeur, and it's, you can't even put it all on the screen. It's so amazingly huge.
Built in two
like you
years.
said, yeah,
Built in
built in a
two
couple of years.
years. Yeah. Where do they get the manpower from?
I don't know. It and when you zoom in on everything and look at it, and it's just not a good picture of zooming in on it. But look at the ornate, just the little decorative things and everything. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I just want to. It's not just the the style and the quality; it's the size of these things.
Yes.
And
So,
I was looking at the palace in Luxor, the palace of the pharaoh in Luxor. The I think I the base for the columns in there. The columns are actually 30 feet in diameter. They're you know
and then
think about how.
when you look at, and not necessarily in Luxor because I'm not familiar with what they look like, but when you look at the ones at Baalbek, they're the same way. But then when you look up at the fluting at the top, it's paper thin. It's granite. It's been carved with the veins of the leaves in it,
Hmm.
and of course it was white marble and it was painted at the time, and I suspect that that there's been a lost technology, and that what we're looking at is uh, some way they have we're not building these things, we're refurbishing them, and they're pre-existing in a lot of cases, and we're just cleaning them up, and that they're just so well built and so magnificently built because of the materials they build them out of, gold and granite and marble, that they're virtually indestructible.
Yes.
And and uh, I suspect that because we've talked about the religious context in other shows of the Nephilim and the giants, and whatever you want to call them. The Greeks called them the Titans. If you want to see some, probably the most extravagant builds are actually in India. If you look at the old Hindu temples, and they even talk about in their literature that people had built flying machines, um, that they called Vermanas, and they talk about weapons that sound eerily like nuclear bombs, where when they would drop these weapons on people, the people would get sick and their fingernails would fall out and their hair would fall off, even if they weren't directly killed by it, because they had radiation poisoning. They didn't call it that, and um, so I think what we're looking at, particularly in a lot of these really marvelous buildings, is a re-inhabitation of these existing buildings. And then as the population gets built up, they don't want us to think about that stuff anymore because they want whatever they're trying to do. And so they're eliminating the evidence of the angels or the Nephilim. And so they blow all this stuff up and they keep the very best of it for themselves as palaces. And they say, we built it, or the Capitol buildings, or whatever it is. But um, that's, and then the question becomes, how many times have they done this?
Ah, a bunch probably.
Do you remember in the Matrix, that the whole thing was basically that, the idea is even the people that figured stuff out were only being allowed to figure it out so that they had the appearance of choice. And then when Neo finally got to the one, he was like, this isn't the first time this has happened. This has happened a dozen times. This is the 10th Matrix. it in a way, I kind of feel like, although I don't feel like we're in a machine simulation, I think the idea that the powers that be keep resetting things and letting people start over has merit. What do you think?
It does. Now, the Parthenon, I went to the Parthenon. It's built on a gigantic marble mountain that you can't even walk up the thing. They had to cut steps into it because the marble was so slippery. And the pillars are about between 9.5 and 11 feet across, depending on which one you look at. Because it's the Greeks designed it so when you stood in the middle of it and looked at it, that it would look perfectly straight. Taking away for the disappearing point. So your normal eye would, when you look up at a building, the top of it would look smaller than the bottom. But they actually designed it so it looked like it was straight up. So the top is actually bigger, and the outside columns are bigger, so that when you looked at it, all the columns looked the right size. And how did they do that? I don't know.
The
But
only way you could, honestly, the only way you could do that is if you had some sort of extra compute. I don't think human beings can do it by eye by carving it with a chisel. And like so many
it's
other
like
things.
it's like setting up a disappearing point when you're doing 3D, right? When you used to do that stuff in school.
Right.
Yeah, if you, they'd have to put it in the computer and negate it. They'd have to have a negative disappearing point to make the things spread out and look. In reality, the top is flared out, the sides are bigger, and the center is closer together. Um, it's a
And
something.
and
But
I would
anyways,
argue that all of these things that we're looking at they look to me like they are machine made, that they're either laser made or CNC machine type technology. That and I think that even when we're looking at all this gold inlay and all that stuff, and I think that is all 3D stuff, 3D printers, and they're using a CAD like machine, because like in what was the name of the um, in the Pumapunku, which is a the place in I'm trying to blank. Not
Peru
Brazil.
or
Peru. In Peru, yes, in Peru. Puno Puco in Peru. All of the stones, first of all, they found out that the walls, which are already huge, are actually, they go like 50 feet, 100 feet. They don't even know. They're still trying to figure out the bottom of these walls.
yeah,
So
and,
they're,
and the bottom of them is better done and more ancient and more
I'm not
beautiful
even
and
talking
more.
about that. I'm talking about of the perfectly molded wall stones that they're finding that that stuff goes down many meters underground. They're digging it up to find out how deep it goes. Sort of like the statues at that one island out in the middle of nowhere where they got the big,
They're 15 feet underground. Yeah,
yeah, and they're actually
because they're so
like,
old, the sediments have built up on them.
that's what's happened here. And what they've said is that the only way you could fit rocks together like that, and because they're basically earthquake proof, and the geometry is such that it completely it offsets any shaking. It's a very earthquake prone area, and so the in their mind, the people doing the research, their opinion is the only way you could do that is with CAD, with a program that is basically for designing 3D objects. And you would have to do all the math and figure out all the pieces ahead of time and then build it. You couldn't just be like, oh, I'll put this stone in here and that stone in there and then have a completely earthquake proof wall. You would have
Because
to
they overlap each other and they're different sizes and they overlap at different angles so that no amount of shaking can make the rocks fall out of position.
right. And again, the scale of the building, just like at the Parthenon or at Versailles, or even I would say the U.S. Capitol building. When you look at everything inside the main halls and all that stuff, the hallways are all built for what looks like to me to be immensely large. It's perfectly scaled for somebody that was 3 times larger. And it looks like to me that they just slapped in a stairwell afterwards. It does, like, the doorway is humongous, everything is, and then they got the stuff built in wood to frame in a smaller door. But obviously the doorway is much more immense than what we're using, and I'm sure that they've even found castles, and I was having a hard time finding it, but there used to be a king, and the king was a giant, and everything in the castle was built to his scale, including his bed was 15 feet, and all of his tools and everything were humongous, and that was in the 1500s. What is this?
This is the Parthenon. There it is on top of the Marble Mountain.
Read the scale there. What does it say?
It says it's 100 feet across in the front. This is one of the. There's much bigger buildings in Greece than this, but that is just what they had room for up there. But this is when they built it. What happened it was like in the Napoleonic Wars or something. They stored like 50 tons of dynamite or something inside of it, and I guess a shell got in there and blew everything up, and that's what blew apart the Parthenon. And otherwise it'd still be looking like this today. They actually blew it up accidentally.
It was an accident. They say that, but they blow this stuff up to cover up the grandeur. But go ahead.
We see around the top edge where it's blue,
Yes.
where they have that all the frescoes and the mini statues and everything. And you go above the roof and you see where everything is held together. They actually put in copper spikes, and then they used molten lead to hold it together. So it's held together like with composite rivets.
Yeah.
And where did they get the copper and the molten lead? I mean, I realize they probably had that, but the idea that's how they held everything together is pretty amazing. Like it goes down through the columns, and
it really again the thing that you have to take into account here is supposedly these people had only horses and carriages. How did they get all that stone up there?
Well, a lot of it was from the mountain itself, but still, that it's unbelievably heavy. And how did they get it on top? Because those are solid pieces of stone on the top.
That's what I'm saying.
Including the roof.
How did they get enough molten lead up there in a timely manner to take 100 by 300 foot building and rivet it all to the columns? How did they drill that stuff?
Yeah, how did they make the columns perfectly round, and then have perfect circles cut out of them?
How did they manage to keep everything exactly the same on each column?
Oh, it's far beyond that. Each column is slightly different size on purpose to give the optical illusion of perfect straightness. So the outside columns are bigger and they have more space on them, and the inside columns are smaller. Exactly to eliminate the disappearing point. So when you look up at the building, it looks perfectly square. It's mind-boggling. This what it actually does is lean out at the top, and the outermost columns are further away and they're bigger.
Mm.
but they don't show that in this. So when you can see it in person, when you go there, you can
You
see the
can
outside ones.
actually see it slightly if you look at the back corner on the right hand side. You can see it's leaning out a little bit.
Yes, and not only that, the columns are bigger in the middle, so they appear to be perfectly straight. So when you're looking down from the ground and looking up, by the way, you'd be a little speck on that step on there. You'd be a tiny little person, but the
Do you
so the
feel that
column,
this are the steps scaled for a regular person?
no.
And see, that's my whole argument is, and that's why I think this is fascinating, is you can lie about a lot of things, but if you go back, and I think that's why they're so adamant about blowing it up and destroying it and having world wars in the middle of cities and shooting everything up, is because it covers up the fact that these things exist. And the one thing you can't really fake, you can rewrite history, but a building, if it remains intact, is just too much proof of too much evidence to the contrary of the defined timeline. It you know the idea that giants exist, giant people or giant humanoids exist, is made very plain when you see a building like this. It makes a lot more sense for somebody to build a building like that, if the people are living in it are giants. And I know you're not a huge fan of the Babylonian text, but or the Egyptian text, but what they always said is that these temples are the houses of the very specific god, and these gods lived there. They were flesh and blood things that were inhabiting these things and lived there. Um, and if that makes a lot more sense, um, to have this building, if the stature of the person is, then the proportions make more sense. But the technology to build this stuff, um, I just find it laughable that they're saying that people were doing all this gold inlay and carving these. Look at the temple at Baalbek, if you can, and like type in the columns at Baalbek.
How's it spelled?
Of course, you would ask me that. Hold on.
Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. It's spelled like Bale.
Yeah, it's because he. But what you if you look at the columns, and the detail on them, that's what I find astounding.
I'm trying to get it to get a good image of it. Okay, I'll put that way.
Now, of course, supposedly Baalbek was built by Nephilim. That's the or Titans, depending on what you want to call them. But if you look at the building, again, it's much like the Parthenon. It's just even, in my opinion, grander. It's older and beat up more. If, if you can find a close up of one of like the tops of the columns, um, I think this stuff was uh, extruded. I think this stuff is like you can see the in modern day the base stones on if the base stones of the foundation are 2,000 tons.
Oh, down here.
Yes.
And these columns are made in three pieces. There's one, two, three, and they're standing on top of each other. How do they hold them together? Why haven't they
And
fallen over? you know.
it, and I think this thing is considered to be early, like 2000 BC.
But it
But
looks like it's the same technology that they use at the Parthenon. It's
yes,
obvious.
this is a much bigger building though than the Parthenon. It,
I'm trying
it
to find some people in the picture to give scale, but they don't have any here.
type in something like that, like people in the image. And there's so many ruins like this. Um, it just astounding the quality of this stuff. But this stuff was built 5,000 to 6,000 years ago.
Okay, well they don't. I can't see. It's got to be something here with a. Well, she got Mike. I'll find it while we're doing this.
Well, there's many ancient temples, but um, I don't. The truth is I don't know enough about this to speak intelligently about it. Um, Beyond what we have done so far. Here, I'm going to send you a picture. I'm trying to find one of a person myself while we're doing this. Um, the people
Okay,
are
I got
not
one. I got one right here where you can see the size of the columns.
with a
Let's
person.
let's get. To, yes, it's it's crazy.
But again, I found a couple of them here that when you're looking at the foundation, you see these little doorways in the foundation. You don't realize that those are about 20 feet tall. That if like I'll send you a picture. Uh, Where'd it go? Here we go. Yes, look at that little person on there. That little dude is next to the column.
Yeah, and they built it up on something that's 40 feet high on top of that or more.
Yeah, well, the
The base.
foundation, the foundational stones, like you get. So these stones are 2,000 tons, and so what technology did they have to take a 2,000 ton stone and put it on top of another 2,000 ton stone?
Yeah, basically what they said here is a little known Roman ruin of Baalbek in the Lebanon's historic Bekaa Valley are among the most astounding relics of the classic world. The site is an enormous megalithic extravaganza fashioned from the countless 10 to 200 to 20 ton limestone blocks and six gigantic 230-ton columns. 230-ton columns.
But the foundation stones I know are 2,000 tons. I've seen
Well,
a guy.
they're talking about the blocks underneath. They're not talking about the foundation stones. They're just talking about those blocks. That
Yeah, the
the,
200-ton column.
they said there's 24 400-ton blocks with a
How
U-shaped enclosure.
how did they build that?
They had
What
really
is the
strong
what
horses.
year did they say that was built?
Um, it didn't say in this particular thing.
So it's as
They say the
me-
Roman ruins.
yeah, I know. I don't believe it.
It doesn't. The Romans didn't make this kind of stuff. They didn't
No.
make everything out of solid stone. They used cement.
It's much like what we've talked about. The Romans did a lot of re-inhabitation too. That's my. I think that this thing is goes back. This is Atlantis. My whole argument would be that this is all stuff from Atlantis. These are all Atlantean ruins, including the stuff in the United States. Some of it's buried under, for whatever reason, maybe because of the flood. I don't know. I can't tell you how it happened. I just like when we were looking at the Capitol building in the video. It looks like because there's no road there. There's no road around the Capitol. There's nothing there. It's mud, and it looks like they're a quarry, like they're digging up the Capitol. That doesn't
Hmm.
look like they're constructing it. There's no lattice holding anything up. There's no infrastructure that they're there's a hole. It's a hole. They're digging it up. And I've seen pictures of when they've done rehabilitation on the Capitol building, and the front of the Capitol building that we're looking at. There's a whole level under there, and they got columns under. It's buried under the ground. Why do you have ornate columns and then you bury them under the ground? It doesn't make a lick of sense.
It's because the water table was lower. Because if you dig down that far now in DC, you get water. It's because there's pre-flood, I would say. But the from what I see, like here,
Have you ever
these
seen
things.
this before?
I've seen pictures of it. I wanted to visit it. I never visited it. I've seen some of the other Greek ruins out in the Peloponnese and other areas. Poseidon's
Right.
the what do they call it? The Temple of Poseidon and all that stuff. They look like this. They got the tall, ridiculously tall columns, different than the
Yeah, just
Parthenon.
look how fucking tall that is. Just a
Well,
big piece of stone.
and it doesn't fall over.
No,
What's holding it in place?
the power
What
of the
is
gods.
holding it in place? There's no way it would stay there. The wind would blow it over. I mean, come on. So there's something going through that column into the rock below, holding it up. And they got all that mass on top of it. It would fall over. It can't be.
And
It can't be held.
yes, I agree. But I think it's either something they have on the inside, or it's just constructed in such a perfect way of mathematically perfect, support and all that stuff that it's just able to hold up. Um, and again, that's why I say it's built with computers from a different era. I mean, it's not modern, but and the thing that I would argue is that I think this is actually much older than what we're told. Um,
It looks very similar to the stuff that was built in Egypt.
right,
I mean,
and I think that stuff is much older than we're told. I think that what because I seen a guy that basically said that if you take the alignments of the stars that these things are supposed to be aligned to, they don't align until you go back to at least 12,000 BC.
yeah,
Like,
pre-flood.
and so that's what I think all of this is. I think all of this is pre-flood um, ruins a lot, and they were able to be remarkably intact, and so people re-inhabited them. and they provided inspiration for people to realize what's possible. So that causes people to try to figure out how it was done, and then they start imitating it. Uh, but this stuff seems like it would be such a colossal waste of resources for primitive people 5,000 years ago who are scraping by as camel jockeys and olive farmers, living in mud huts, to then go build something like this. It's an like it says, Baalbek, a enigma. I agree. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Um, so I mean,
They said it was erected by the. It's roughly the size of the Parthenon. Remains the best preserved Roman temple in the world.
I think academia likes to say that. I think the Romans took it over, but I don't believe that.
They haven't made anything else that looks like that.
No, and they were using cement for a lot of their stuff in Rome, and um, they never built anything to this scale. Uh, um, so I mean, the question becomes, why do we see so many of these colossal ruins suddenly basically abandoned? Why do these grand palaces have bricks, you know, bricked up giant doorways and these blackened stone walls? Why do the pyramids have voids we can't figure out how to get into? I mean, there's something that's been hidden from us, why these things exist and who did them. The stories just don't add up to me. Can't seem to be able to highlight my face and move it. Um, got these basically cities that are built and then abandoned and destroyed overnight for no natural reasons. Across the entire world, there is a destruction layer of ash and collapsed buildings. And I mean, a lot of these buildings of the ancient world look like parts of them have been melted.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like they've been melted.
There's actual heat damage,
Right, that's what I'm
scorching
saying. Yeah,
to the surface
scorching.
of the pyramids. Yeah.
Yes. There are cathedrals with scorched stones. It looks like fire or some sort of energy weapon hit them. These giant archways and these doorways, they're downsized. I mean, for us, we fill them in to downsize them for humans. The expo centers that were temporary palaces and then destroyed afterwards. None of these things would make sense if you're a struggling new country. In 1890, we weren't so rich that we could afford to do these things. It doesn't. I mean, we can't throw away that. I mean, we're talking about debt and deficit now, and we're not living high on the hog like these people were. Does it? Why are all the
And by the
statues?
way, all these exhibitions were named Columbia, including DC.
What do you think that means?
Well, that's the secret societies covering up stuff. They are always talking about Columbia,
Hmm.
and I mean, the tickets actually said "Welcome to Columbia," the Columbia exhibit for the World Fair in 1904. I don't know what that meant back then. I assume it had something to do with some secret society, I guess, because they're always talking about Columbia. And Columbia is what, the Statue of Liberty? Washington D.C. is a district of Columbia.
Columbia, yeah.
So maybe those things were there, and they're just acknowledging that
Well, even like the word America, it comes from some of the Aztec myths about the sky people. It's the name America.
It's not Amerigo Vespucci, huh?
I'll send you a video on it. It's pretty interesting. I mean, the interiors, the exteriors, the stuff that they have, the materials they built with, everything to me doesn't appear to be like they're being straight with us. In terms of how they got it, it's too opulent. You'll see human being living in a wood hut, and then next to it is a building where it's made of all marble, and the ceilings are 30 feet high and the doorways are 25 feet high. And you're telling me this guy who's living in the wood hut is constructing it's retarded. It's
You think you just
fucking
constructed?
retarded.
You think you just constructed for himself, wouldn't he?
Yes, it doesn't. Um, and so there's this pattern that I believe we're looking at of um, destruction, and then basically the elites hoarding up all this stuff for themselves, locking it away in some underground temple somewhere, and then reoccupation and then refurbishing of the old stuff. And I think every time it happens, we're losing more and more of the glory. The stuff we have now is dog shit. It's disgusting. You look
Come
at
on,
this
the
old,
malls are beautiful.
you look at the stuff that, I mean, they're okay. I'm not even going to say that they're not pretty good,
They're
but
not
nowhere
that good.
near, nowhere near this. This stuff is amazing. Like when you look at it, it makes you want to cry. It's
And now we look at things and it makes you want to cry for a different reason.
right. Yeah, the things that are happening now make me want to cry for a completely different reason. Um, so I'd like to wrap up on this, and I would like to just throw my 2 cents, because you and I haven't really talked about it, about what's going on with Charlie Kirk. So, um, I
Sure,
guess in my
I'd like to talk
opinion,
about it.
this stuff is something that you and I need to look into more. But people need, I imagine many people have, and there's a lack of interest. People don't look into this, because they're just so busy with their lives. But
You
so,
need to save up money. Don't buy yourself an extra set of golf clubs. Don't buy a bass boat. Save up some money and travel to them places.
well,
You
and that's what I
cannot
was going to
believe
say.
it
You
when
and
you
I
go
need to do.
there. When you go there, you cannot imagine it until you get there. It's just overwhelming how huge everything is. It even the castles of Europe. I visited a lot of castles in Europe, and they're just the magnitude and the size of them is just overwhelming. The thickness of the walls, the them leaning out. They have the castle leaning out over the water, and it's just amazing stuff. And you think, and it gives you so much wonder. Now you look at anything modern stuff, and it has no wonder in it. It's just, who
All the
cares?
things that we've been talking about the last few shows, that the that's the main thing I would say is different, is that these things are filled with wonder, and when you talk about the modern world, it's filled with horror.
The
I'm not saying there
banality.
what, yeah, and
It's
banality. Yes, exactly.
it's the banality of evil.
So here's the choice: do we keep believing that the 19th century horse and buggy populations with no cranes or electricity were building marble palaces in 2 years, or do we admit that the photos and the myths show that we're living among the ruins of a war-torn higher race of beings? That's what I'm thinking. The evidence is everywhere. Share the stream, hit the subscribe button, and help people wake up to the truth. that we're living in a lie. And then we can move on to, unless you got
Yeah,
some.
and you have to worship beauty and love. Otherwise, you end up with these ugly buildings they have now, which are just utilitarian uh, things designed to put more cash in their pocket, and then
Right.
they take that cash in their pocket and they spend it on themselves, defiling themselves. So it's the ugliness of modern society. Is we need a renaissance. We need to worship beauty and love and realize God's creation is beautiful and not make these ugly things that they're making. I mean, if you look at anybody who's watched Paul Joseph Watson make fun of modern art and modern architecture, it is abysmal and it is a banality of evil. It's terrible stuff. Uh,
Not only that, the people are doing that to themselves. That's the number one thing about the left is they
how about
worship
how about
ugly.
how about people that their clothes now? Look at everyone's the clothes they're wearing. They're wearing the ugliest clothes they can find. So everyone is at the same level of ugly.
And
I
then they're
mean,
putting all this fucking, they're shaving off their eyebrows and putting bars through their fucking head and all this, and they got fucking shit in their face.
okay, well, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want to be banned.
You're right. But it's horrible what they're doing to themselves. They'll put stuff in they'll cut holes in their mouth so that saliva leaks out of the holes and their faces 24 hours a day. They can't even drink water.
That way they when they play a musical instrument they can get a double harmony going.
Yeah, I guess.
And,
Don't do
it comes out that way.
I know. I knew what you meant. And along with the food
They
and
need to
goop from
they attach some whistles to the holes. Yeah, it's retarded. It's
is.
self-loathing. It's ugly, and that's the common denominator from the people who are into the Marxist stuff now is that they're into ugly, they're into fear, and they're into anger and hate, and all those things are not pretty, and nothing that they do is pretty. And we need to retake back society and make things pretty again. I mean, we should. It's music needs to be pretty. It's not now.
The music is just horrible.
And it's not just an old guy talking about the good old days. Um, I wasn't exactly a spring chicken even when they were, the grunge movement was out, and that was 1,000 times better than anything they have now. Um,
Oh, the 70s and the 90s appeared to be the two
yeah, the
peaks
late
in the
'60s,
trough.
early '70s, yeah, and before that it was the 1940s, late '40s and early '50s, where rock and roll started in the '50s. So, and
This is truly, and I'm old, I guess now, and so I'm not just saying it because I'm old. This is really the lowest point in the American story. Music is at its lowest point right now. It is just bafflingly bad.
it's because the people who are controlling the music have poor taste.
Yes.
They got a bunch of idiots that they don't ever want to take a chance on a new band. They want to just rewash and re-rinse the same type of things that made hits for them in the past. And the same thing they're doing for movies. They just how many friggin' comic book movies do we need?
Well, I think that you could
Stan
have.
Lee has died. What are they going to
I
do
think
now?
you could have unlimited good comic book movies. The
You can say
problem
that, but they're not going to come up with anything new because Stan Lee died.
they don't need to come up with anything new. He did so many good things that haven't been done yet. They're what they're
Well,
doing
then you're
is
going down the same the direction architecture did. Just keep rehashing everyone else's old work because we have no new ideas.
well, I will disagree with you. I think Stan Lee's works, which are great, need to be brought to a full audience. That's not what they're doing. They're taking the stuff that's all the communist stuff, like the common name for what I call the MCU is I call it the M she as in girl you, and the MCU is all about girl bosses and the inversion of the and emasculation of the man hero, and making women the superior beings when they can't be. Uh, the reality, in my opinion, is women cannot be the leaders, and when
Well,
you put
that's
them
why they're
in,
pushing them. That's why they're pushing them as the leaders, because they want society to fall apart. And then you belittle the men. Like I just seen a bunch of videos on there where they showing women, wives, and girlfriends poking their man in the face, screaming at him, tell him, "You can't hit me, you can't hit me," and keep slapping him in the face until he does something, and then they fall on their ground, screech, and act like they're being attacked, and call the police. This is
yes,
a thing that they all do now.
it's yes, it's something that uh, apparently all women do, and we've all had our experiences with that. Um, and what it is women have no accountability. They live in a world where actually they've, if you're being honest, women haven't earned anything. They don't deserve anything, and they can't do anything. Everything that they do, everything that they have, has been given to them. Their rights. They can't enforce that. At any given second, men can take it from them and they can't do shit. We could give them all the machine guns, and a week later we would have them. We have the monopoly on power. And we're benevolent, which is what has happened. They're taking advantage of our benevolence, our natural instinct to protect them, and uh, our natural desire to nurture them and build them a safe space. And they've taken that and perverted it.
There's plenty of women who don't do that, but there's a large percentage who are doing that now because they're taking advantage of the situation, which is unfortunately for them is ending.
It's
And
not unfortunate for them. They are going to be better off when it ends.
of course they are, but their fifis will get hurt. And
The,
hello.
their fifis are getting hurt now. Right now, women are at the most unhappy in recorded history.
It's just like men are because men don't have any duty anymore. They don't have any responsibility. Um, by making their wives the boss, they've in cutting off their nuts. They no longer have the ability to act like knights in shining armor. Why bother? There's nothing in it for them. They actually get punished for it by saying it's toxic masculinity, which
Right.
is, it's just an inversion of reality. Everyone has their role, has the things they can do well. There are some women who can do things like men do. And there's some men who aren't very good at being men. But that's the exception. That's not the rule. You don't form a society around exceptions. You don't say, well, little
No,
children, some
I
little
almost
children who are 12 years old can act like adults, so all 12-year-olds are adults. No, they're not.
so I seen this thing just a couple of days ago where they took the top female CrossFit athletes. These are the
Well,
best of
this
the
is going to be
best,
no surprise, Mike. I mean, it's
and they
physically.
took literally fat dudes, out of shape fat dudes, and it was close, more close than I would have liked. But we're talking about literally 50-year-old out of shape men, and these are 20 something steroid taking women. And the women lost. It was a 5 event thing. They lost 4 events.
Your man couldn't do the chin ups, right? Because they weighed too much.
But
Yeah,
it
I
was
know
no
that's what
chin.
it was. Yeah. Well, luckily there was no chin ups, right?
Yeah,
Because the fat men couldn't do
it
them.
was more like physical things, like how you had to fill like move all this stuff off a truck into the onto a pallet and things like that. Things that were common everyday things. They did a tug of war. They did a bunch of things where they were put against each other, and the girls were completely convinced that they were gonna beat these flabby dudes. And they at the end they literally said that their egos had been crushed because they're world champions. and these fat dudes beat them.
That's why we can't have men in women's sports. It's stupid.
It is stupid.
Men are designed to fight other men. Uh, our eyebrows, how heavy the bones are on our heads, how heavy the bones are in our hands. They're all for fighting. And also, when we hit something, we don't break. When women are designed to carry children and to be efficient, and to they can get damaged and bleed and survive better than we can. And they're designed to hang on and survive and make their kids grow up to be adults. We're there to fight other men and fight bears. It's not a fair comparison. Even when men and women are exactly the same size, the strength difference is quite evident. A 13-year-old boy. I remember when I was 13, I weighed 100 pounds. I was still stronger than all the women around me. And we had some strong women around us. I mean, your mother wasn't exactly weak.
Right. They have every year the U.S. Soccer team will play a high school team, and they've never beat them. The high school boys always beat the professional girls. They've never lost. These are the best soccer.
There's a difference. There's a big difference in speed.
So,
it's not top speed; it's the acceleration. When you watch men players, they're just quicker. Women can run almost as fast top speed. They just can't accelerate and change direction as quickly. And when you watch, women's basketball, it becomes completely evident that they just can't do it. They don't have the horsepower. I got out of the military, and I played me and one of my friends who we were 5'8" and 5'9". We played a couple of 6'3" college basketball scholarship winners. They were good enough to almost make the Olympic team. And me and this other guy, we were beating them so bad that they actually started crying. They just were not fast enough to stop us. They're tall, they could shoot well, but they couldn't stop me from scoring. I just would go right around them and have a layup. And if they waited in there to block me, I'd shoot from outside. I mean,
and that goes back
never
to
mind Michael Jordan. I mean, what could they do to him? Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean,
and that goes back to my thing that if the roles are reversed, women would, and we see that now, would do everything they could to hurt men, and that's what we're seeing. Most of the stuff that's happening now are because women hate men. But when men are in charge, we give women the rights to do whatever they want, and that's what we've done.
But let's not let men off the hook. There's plenty of abusive men who.
I disagree. Women. Plenty? Is there a few?
Yes.
There's a few. Plenty? Maybe.
I've met quite a few. Pimp masters and everything. Yeah, I've met them.
I'm not saying there's none, but the vast majority of men in Western culture are pretty benevolent. I think like everything, we've heard this thing of this. There's this stereotype of the drunk dude with the wife beater on, beating his wife. I've seen it happen. I've had friends that lived it. I've known two. I've met probably 10,000 men. The vast majority of men are willing to die for their girlfriends, and their girlfriends will, as soon as they stumble into a little, like their father croaks or something, they're off banging somebody else behind their back because they're no longer fun. So
when you emphasize in a society that women's sexual reproduction has no value, that it's just something for entertainment, not just from the men's point of view, but the woman's point of view also, that ruins society to it's freedom. It's freedom to completely destabilize the society and take away the one thing that men cannot replace. And if you take that away from women, then they're actually shortchanging themselves. Taking men's ability to defend other people away from them is almost as bad as taking women's reproductive exclusivity away from them and making it a community thing that's shared by everyone. That is makes them valueless.
And it has. I think it has. It's diminished all of us. They've diminished themselves, and that's my point. Is left to their own devices. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule. There, obviously, there's a percentage of people that are just pieces of shit, and they're worthless in general, on both sides, men and women. But if you're taking it as a whole, women don't take accountability for their actions because people provide them with a way out. It's much harder to be a man than it is a woman. You have to learn to play much more by the rules if you're a man than you are a woman. And basically, I think men are just genetically set up to be more noble.
Well, as the alpha of the pack, let's say a wolf, um, they're actually much more benevolent than the other wolves in the pack because they have to be. To get everyone to cooperate with you, you have to be benevolent, and of course, you have to show your claws and have people have to have the fear of crossing you. But the majority of the time, if you're not benevolent, then either your household or whatever company you're running is going to run crappy.
Right,
So successful men have learned to get along with other men,
and somebody's going to kill you.
Yes,
if you're a shit tyrant, somebody's going to kill you and kill your children, and that's the end of your line. And if that happens 10 million times over a long enough time frame, that doesn't happen to women.
Well, as we've discussed before, only half the men born have children, and 95% of the women have them. So until you get to modern society from the 1990s to 2025, where a lot of the women aren't having kids anymore or are getting married.
Yes,
but before that, there was the majority of women had kids, and almost half the men didn't.
Well, but that is because half the men died.
Yeah, they died, and they were put under pressure, and if they weren't perfect in every way, then they weren't viable for reproduction.
Right.
And
well, but most of them just died. They just got killed. They fought in a war, and they died at like 16 years old.
And they died, working in the field, or they died in the woods fighting the Indians, or they died fighting a bear, or they died, for some other reason.
Because
chopping down trees, like what's his name? Andrew Jackson's dad died from
having a tree. Yes, all of those.
And had a tree fall on
him. And for all that risk men take over the millennia, now we got a bunch of girls trying to stab us in the back for like 30 cents more an hour. It's just. But let's move on to Charlie Kirk. I actually didn't mean to get this. I was just trying to make a point, but I don't remember what that point was.
The point was the society is messed up, and the roles of men and women are not defined, and therefore there's confusion and a mess. This stuff has worked a certain way for, say, 100,000 years. Now all of a sudden we're going to change it, and every time someone changes it, the society falls apart. It's been documented throughout history.
Apparently, in the Roaring '20s, including the Nazi Party, the same thing happened in Germany. Everybody got crazy on who was what and what was happening, and then the whole place went and so yeah,
and they haven't recovered.
And we're facing the same thing if we don't get our stuff together, and we're seeing it, and so that'll segue into what happened here with Charlie Kirk. One of the interesting things that, obviously we caught this guy, but the amount of time it took was 33 hours.
Yeah, I understand the reference point on that. It could have taken 66 hours too, but or 666 minutes. What if they found him in 7 hours? Would that is it divine then?
It would have been better.
Yes, yeah, and Cash Patel kept emphasizing that it only took us 33 hours.
But that's
That
my point. Is they didn't have to say it took us 33 hours. They're telling us that.
I know, and that's Cash Patel, and he says he's going to meet um, Charlie Kirk in Valhalla, like the Indian Valhalla, where the Vikings hang out.
Yes. And so, of course, Christ was crucified at age 33. God's name appears 33 times in the Bible, or actually in Genesis, I mean. The King James, he ruled for 33 years in Jerusalem. The Freemasons have 33 degrees.
Of stupidity, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't like to say that it's stupidity since they seem to be smarter than everybody. They just happen to be evil.
Yeah, very secretive they are.
There's 33. It is the master number, and numerology. It's a hard word.
Who has devised this numerology? Who did it?
I don't know. You want me to ask?
Yeah. You'll find out it's the Phoenicians or something. Well, the Old Testament, the Tanakh, it is Tanakh, I guess they call it. When you look at it in Hebrew, and they use numerology and everything works. The same thing is true on the New Testament in Greek. When they use numerology
of course,
in Greek, it works.
All of you like QAnon, and all of that stuff is numerology.
Well, it's a good way of communicating things indirectly. It's a way to what do they call that when they it's a cipher so that you can mask.
There is no. It seems like there's been many people throughout history, many traditions, from the Christians to various pagan groups. Not only think 33 is a very important number, but have used numerology. The Hebrews did it, the Christians did it, the Greeks did it, the Western world, occultism does it, mysticism in the East does it. It's
and Q does it, and Q plus.
So Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. So Charlie Kirk's killer has been captured in 33 hours.
I don't think that's the most important thing, but
no, I don't either. I mean, there's so many things going on around this. I'm glad that they caught him, and I'm happy that he didn't kill himself. I'm happy that I think his father turned him in.
His father captured him and locked him in a room. His father's the police chief. His father knew that there was something wrong with him. When you see pictures of the whole family together, the kid is always staying 2 feet away from everybody in the pictures. He doesn't hug in with everyone like normal people do. He stays away and he's outside of the picture. So he doesn't agree with anything his family's doing. And his father, I'm sure, knew it. His father was MAGA and conservative Christian, and his son was a communist.
Trans.
And Antifa, and he was actually a furry or something.
Whatever that
which
is.
someone who dresses up in animal outfits. That's even weirder. But you know, he um, he was on what do you call it? What's that? What is the gaming?
Discord.
Discord. Yeah, he was on Discord, and a lot of people use Discord to send secret messages to each other and organize. Um,
It's not even
he's
secret.
a, he's a,
I mean, you and I probably will end up with a Discord.
I used Discord when I was in school, and that's way gamers like to communicate with each other and computer people because they're all gamers. Um,
it's the freest. It's like OBS. Everybody using OBS. It's free. It works pretty good, and it's highly customizable, and so people use it. It's actually completely centralized, and everyone reads your shit. It's not very secretive. The problem is why didn't?
But yeah, well, the problem I'm having is that all the things this guy, because I guess they found some sort of video where he was actually debating Charlie Kirk, from what I hear, and he lost the debate, and it looks like he got his butt hurt from it. But the what I see from him is he's highly intelligent, but he was obviously a psychopath because he was not only that, he when he would argue with Charlie Kirk, rather than coming up with a counter argument, he would just say Charlie Kirk is lying. That is something someone does to you when they're a psycho or they're a sociopath. They just try to gaslight you. Oh, you're lying. You're lying. But of course, he has no proof. He knows he's not lying. He knows Charlie Kirk's telling the truth, but he can't counter the argument, so he just calls him a liar and called him names, and got all butt hurt. So it's when I see that, and I see the messages that these leftists are delivering about Charlie Kirk, none of them are true. He wasn't anti-gay. He wasn't going to chop up trans people and or hang them or anything that like Stephen King said. He had to apologize and take down that thing that, oh yeah, he was going to stone gay people and trans people. He actually welcomed them into the conservative movement and said, we're all sinners and we need to work together. If you have the same belief system as I do, sure, I don't believe that, alternative lifestyle marriages and stuff are what I believe in. But if you're doing it but you have all the other beliefs about conservatism, welcome. And then they had to make everyone take down their posts about him being a Nazi and a gay hater, because he wasn't. So they were using that narrative to go after him, and all they were doing is lying. He never said any of those things.
In fact, he, well, first of all, with Stephen King. Stephen King is a psychopath. His worldview, he's a demon. If anybody has killed anybody and gotten away with it, it's that guy. He's messed up. So anything that Stephen King has to say is about as believable as something that Rosie O'Donnell has to say, or Madonna. These are demons. These are demons in man suits.
Yeah, they're of their father, and their father is the source of all lies, and that's all they do is lie. I mean, they lie constantly. It's like listening to Joe Biden. All he did is nothing that came out of the man's mouth, whether you like him or not, was true. It was demonstrably false. Right. Not just because I'm a Republican, it's because you can't prove anything he said.
Yeah, he was just making it up.
From a restaurant he went to, or where he graduated from college, or what his scores were, he just made things up. And you'll find that the majority of those people who are Marxists, who tend to be satanic, they just constantly lie all the time.
What Charlie Kirk did,
and they think that lying is okay because they're trying to get their way. And so there's no use trying to correct them.
Anything is okay if you're a soulless monster, if you don't have a conscience. But Charlie Kirk was open to debating everybody. He probably the single biggest guy to influence the young people that's come along. I mean, Trump didn't do that. Trump gets credit for swinging all the youth vote, but that was Charlie Kirk. Uh, Charlie Kirk was willing to engage anybody's idea and take it seriously and talk about it more so than anybody else in media. Ben Shapiro and all these other people that are out there talking about him now, they're pale comparisons. Like uh, Ben Shapiro only wants to talk about with people. He's done it a little bit, gone to colleges and stuff like that, but he only wants to talk to people he agrees with, and he dismisses anybody that he just calls them a bunch of names and runs them off. Charlie Kirk actually was trying to get to the root of the, I won't say the issue, but the root of their idea, and wanted to engage with it legitimately. And that's why he had such success. The problem I have now is now that he's passed, who's going to, he's got this big organization with all these people involved in it. Who's going to run that?
Well, what I think it's done, and most of what the Christians have talked about, that so many of them got online now and go, I realize now that there's not going to be any Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to have to do something. That we just sitting back and watching him do it was probably a mistake. I think that he's created, his death has created 10,000 new Charlie Kirks. There's
I hope
plenty of
that's
people
true.
out there.
I hope that's true.
It's inspired me not to be a coward. If you have 10,000 people like him out there, they can't kill them all.
That's my biggest concern. And before Charlie Kirk got killed, the day he got killed, I in response to the thing with the girl being slaughtered on the bus, I lamented the idea that no one helped her, that everybody is just sitting on their hands, and that the best we could do after she got killed is we're putting up that Elon Musk and Andrew Tate and all these people are donating money for artwork to make murals. That doesn't fix anything.
Because they can put their name on the mural.
Right.
It
becomes,
that's
yes,
not
advertising for them.
Anything.
But it doesn't address the fact that white men are sitting on their hands while the country's overrun. We're no better than what's happening in Europe.
It's not just white men; it's all men. Whatever color
I will be honest. I'll be honest with you. I don't even consider the brown people.
Well, Mike, you shouldn't say stuff like that. I've been around.
They are literally overrunning the country and murdering everybody.
The brown people that got here with a visa and went through the process of getting their green card, and
they're still they're not.
They hate the people who've come in illegally because they've had to bust their butt to get here.
Yes, but they're not. They're not willing to defend the country. They're not willing to defend the country. They're not.
Most people that are not born here feel that way, and
right.
Even the Poles that came over, not some of them went in the military, but a lot of them didn't. And the Irish are the same way. Unless at one point our government actually offered them citizenship if they went in the military, then they went in because they wanted to be citizens.
They're not even willing to defend their own homes. Half the country is willing to give up the guns.
I don't know about
that. Of that half of the people that are willing to have guns. So I'll give you an example. I know every single one of my conservative friends works in an environment where they feel like they cannot talk about politics. They admit that their liberal friends run their mouths all the time. Will say anything at any given time, and we see that online right now. All of my friends, including my sister, wouldn't dream of ever bringing up politics or talking about Donald Trump in a positive way. They voted for them. They love them. They love Donald Trump. They won't say shit.
Well, I know why, because I do, and I've been fired because of it. So
So the 1% of people that are stupid like you and me, and that's what I mean. And so that's what I'm talking about. There
well,
is
that's the people who actually defend the country. That's the people who made the United States come to fruition to begin with. The crazy 3 to 5%. That the rest of the people did nothing.
I
There's
think it
not
was
everyone.
higher.
Everyone isn't John Adams. Everyone isn't John Adams. No,
And
they
I know
said that the
that, but
majority of the people were lukewarm. They wouldn't. They were afraid to take one side or the other because they might lose. As they said in 1776, they hung to the rear so that they could stay afloat. And if you've ever seen that movie, that's about the play 1776. It's John Adams telling one of the pro English people that he was a coward because he couldn't stand up for anything. He just hung to the rear and wait for it to work out so he could step in and say it wasn't his fault. And that's what a lot of people do. I don't want to lose my job. And I can understand why people don't want to lose their job. There's not a lot of jobs available right now. We just found out that Biden lost 1 million jobs this last 2 years and it didn't get reported. 1 million.
no, I know, and I'm not
And I
saying,
knew
but
that because I was trying to get a job. So I knew
uh,
that.
yes, and I understand that, and I understand why they do it. I'm not saying I don't understand. I'm saying that they're cowards.
Well, it's the management at their companies are all lefties. They
I know
infiltrated
that.
these companies.
I
They
know that.
infiltrated the companies, and they only hire lefties in the positions of management, and then you can't open your mouth. And
And I
they
get
also do
that. But
that.
if 50% of the country was willing to die on that hill, it wouldn't be a problem because the companies wouldn't be able to run. It's because that 90% of the people are unwilling to do anything, including when a girl gets stabbed in the neck. I, my fear is that the vast majority of people would let somebody murder their child because they were too afraid it would offend somebody. And that's my
Because
point.
that's alien to me. But
No, I know, and everybody says that they're willing to go fight for what they believe in, and I I think there's degrees of that. I recognize that sometimes maybe I am too willing to fight for frivolous things over everything, but I think that there should be some line in the sand for everybody, and I'm afraid that it maybe it's 10% of the people would push come to shove do something. Maybe it's 20%, but it needs to be more like 50 or 60% if we're really going to turn around this boat. And I hope you're right. I hope people are at least willing to say, I mean, that's the bare minimum, that they believe in something. Um, it, it, I don't think it's a lot to, like, I know people who are Christians, they won't talk about God, they won't talk about it.
and they're less likely to talk about being a Trump supporter. There's plenty of people who say, "Yeah, I'm a Christian. I can say it. I'm a Christian, and I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior. I believe He saved the world, and I believe I voted for Trump, and I believe in what he's doing." And I got in trouble for several jobs. They found a way to get rid of me because I was pro-Trump, and some of
Now, I'm,
them didn't like me because I was Christian. And I didn't go around trying to convert people. It's just the idea that they knew I was enough.
and
That's
that's
the
this,
difference between the left and the right. Is the right doesn't go around looking for a fight. They don't go, "Oh, those people are Marxists. We need to throw them out in the street."
we
But
should.
that's what the left does. That's what the left does. They go, "Oh, those people. They're a regular family. They're a binary family, and they have children, and they're conservative. We need to get rid of them." And I'll give you a perfect example. What is Anheuser Busch is like that. If you're past the age of 30, they don't want to hire you because you'd be conservative, and it's run by a guy who used to be in the CIA.
No,
So when I see
I
that an idiot had just shot Charlie Kirk, I bet you look back and find out he had some CIA friends
yeah,
on
and
Discord. On Discord.
there's
Someone's stirring a pot.
It is. There are groups out there. I've seen them. There's these secret groups out there that are for trans people, and it has all the hallmarks of occultism in it.
Yes.
They're pushing. They they rope them in with these ideas that they don't fit in somewhere, and they got some social issue going on, and then once they get them in there, they kind of like bombard them with the ideas that they're special and like uh, feed their ego, and then
Yeah.
they get wrapped up in this mind control stuff. And I don't know how it happens, but over time they get indoctrinated into being murderers.
And the funny thing is that somehow they're convinced that Christians and conservatives are going to kill them, and they're out to get them, and that they have to do something about it before it's too late. And yet they can't ever. They don't watch the news and find out that nobody, almost nobody who kills somebody, is a Christian conservative. They
More
own
importantly,
they own
conservatives are
ninety
really
seven
not
percent of the guns. Yeah, they own
the
ninety
other.
seven percent of the guns, and they don't kill anybody. So unless
And
someone
beyond
gets an
that,
out.
what you have to be really honest about is the average conservative. I sent you that joke where it was the guy saying, liberals want everybody up in their shit and conservatives just want everyone away.
Mhm.
Every conservative I know is wanting to be away from it all. Oh, I want to move out to the country. I want to move out to a hill. I want to move away from the people and just have me and my family. I just want to be able to focus on me and my family. They're not the average conservative doesn't care about trans people. That's actually the thing that they don't understand is all of the trans people are so concerned with themselves that they can't imagine that people aren't thinking about them. Everything they're doing is a um, some sort form of theater, some performant art thing that from all the stuff that they put in their face to all the other things that they do is to get attention. They
Yeah, and the sad thing is, is that I don't believe anybody should claim in public what particular orifice they like or what type of genitals they're in love with, because that what is that 5 minutes of every day that someone
right.
worries about something?
Yeah,
That isn't who you are. That is just something
you
you
shouldn't
do.
be defining yourself by that. You should be
It's
defining
absolutely
yourself.
bonkers.
You should be defining yourself about like what you've done for others. What your beliefs are in service of your family, God, your country, those sorts of things. Are you a liar? Do you keep your word? Do you stand people up? Can people trust you to with money? If they give you something, are you going to like and respect the sacrifice? Those are the things that people should be defining themselves by. But you're correct; they define themselves by who they want to sleep with, and what orifice they like. Um, Hi, I like vaginas and big boobs.
So I'm you know, defining yourself by some stupid fetish you have uh, is uh, is it's just a form of exhibitionism, and it's retarded. And I've never in my life wanted anybody to know what I prefer or what I want to do. That's private, and to make it public means you're an ass.
Uh,
And defining yourself by something you do,
and wanting
that's like
other
saying
people to know about it. Like how many
I'm madly in love with stuffing things in my nose. I'm a nose stuffer. I define myself as a nose stuffer. That's just dumb. I mean,
I would agree. But
I jam large objects in my ear. I deserve special rights. And let me ask you one question: what special rights, or what rights, don't these LGBTQ people have? What is the rights they don't have? What's being taken away from them? I don't understand the problem. What's being
Uh,
taken away? The only
they're
thing that's
they're
being taken
claiming
away
that
is
they're not allowed to love the people the way that they want to love them. Um,
they can do it all they
no,
want in private. Just leave me away. I don't want
yeah.
to. I don't want to be married.
What they really want, what they're really saying is they don't have the right to make you say what they believe. That's the
They
right.
want they want the right to force their non-reality on me and make me acknowledge it.
Right.
Their non-reality of defining themselves by their imagination rather than how other people view them. They want to be able to declare to the world that they're Pope Leo II, and that if we don't honor that, then we're cruel.
Then we're taking something from them.
We're taking
We're
nothing from them.
but
They think
we're
that
hurting.
my mind is part of what they own. That is untrue. So I don't have to acknowledge it. The people, you are what 95% of the people perceive you to be. If the majority of people think you're a scumbag, you're a scumbag. It doesn't matter if you imagine yourself as a prince. That's called delusions.
Right. Uh,
And they live in a fantasy world of delusions, and they want me to be deluded with them. If I don't recognize the delusions, then I'm cruel.
they'll kill you.
Yes, they'll kill me. Whoops.
What the-
That's my delusion. I just lost all my lighting. There we go.
How are you powering that thing with a gerbil? You just gave it a carrot?
No, I have one. I have an outlet thing there with like 5 friggin' things to plug in there, and it, for some reason, the particular light bulb doesn't make good contact there. So if I wiggle the chair, it shuts off the light. It's a good setup. It's professional all the way. Nothing but the best.
I'm sure it's just as professional as mine.
But I did add a flag, so much better now. I just need some purple mood lights in the background, and I'll be ready.
No, they
to
need
go.
to be red and blue. Purple is for, I won't say it.
For people that imagine themselves to be something. Yeah.
Yes, you need red and blue back there.
And I had a discussion with this person who was a Gnostic. He believes in Gnosticism, that your reality is created from within you, and doesn't really believe in God. He believes in the source, and he's the source of everything. All he has to do is improve himself. And then I got in a big argument with him about responsibility and what's the best way to conduct your life. And one of them is, I said, if you want children, you should get married and make them. And he says, well, if you're gay, because obviously he was gay, if you're gay, then how can you have kids? I said, well, the royals managed to have the kids and they're gay. How do they do it? The old-fashioned way. If you're unwilling to go through the effort and cut the mustard in the breeding pen, then don't complain about not having kids. Well, I want the world to just give me one, even though I haven't earned it. No, I'm sorry, that's not how it works, buddy. There's plenty of people out there who have been trying to have kids for 20 years and they can't. And they're getting that taken away from them because you don't want to even try. And he got all upset about it. I said, well, I'm sorry, that's reality. If we go by what you want, the whole world will die if we all practice what you're practicing.
And that's
the people.
That's
yeah, I'm
the
just
main
talking about
thing.
reality. That's reality. And they want to live in a fantasy. If they want to be gay, that's fine. But they can't step into the world of straight people and say, we want to be straight too.
No, they're not even doing that. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, well, we're gay and we want you to pretend that it's okay and that you should believe as we believe. And if you don't, then you're hurting us. No, forcing other people to act in a manner counter to their beliefs is hurting them. And
should they be allowed to adopt? There's plenty of straight people that shouldn't be allowed to adopt either.
No, I think if you're,
you can't reproduce. I asked him, you can't reproduce. Do you have any kids? You can't reproduce. You don't know how to do that. You might have to, quit, watching stuff online and pleasuring yourself for a while. Wait a couple weeks, and then you might, be able to reproduce then. Uh,
Well,
you,
whether he wants to reproduce or not, that's I don't
well, they shouldn't
honest
give him a child. Why should
right.
they just
No,
give him a
they
child
should.
because he doesn't feel it?
No gay
He doesn't.
people, no gay people should have kids. If you don't make them yourself, I don't think any lesbian couple or yeah, we're probably gonna wrap up. Robert says we're on late. He just joined us. I don't think that leftists who are trans or LGBTQ should be allowed to have kids. It
They
should
can
be
have their own kids.
they can
They
have their
just
own
can't have
kids.
someone. Can't have somebody
They
else.
can't adopt kids and use them as pets. There's been too many examples that doesn't work out. It's bad for the children. It sets a bad example for them. It's unnatural, and they shouldn't do it. They should find some other way to get those kids into a home with a traditional family. In fact, I think the prerequisite should be that there are other kids
Already
in the
have kids. Yeah, they already have children.
and there should be incentives for people that have two kids and they find an orphan that they take two more, and that should be something that the government is willing to compensate people to do. We should incentivize and make it easy for normal nuclear families to have 4 or 5 kids. We need them. What we've done instead is we've taken our culture and set it up so that everybody's incentivized to not have children, not to get married. If you get
Yeah, because
married,
I look at it this way: they a lot of times they adopted these kids when they're 2 and 3 years old. Do you realize how much it costs the first year you have a child? It's outrageously expensive. The diapers, I mean, just everything, all the expenses involved. It's on average it costs, not including the doctors and the hospital and all that stuff, but it cost me about $23,000 just for diapers and things like that when I first kid first year. And then they just want to jump in, and then my wife had to carry it, and they just want to jump in and adopt, and they don't want to put in any work. Well, we just
no,
want a kid. Can't we just buy one? Well, if you really want a child, go the way the royals do. They manage to have kids, even though a lot of them are gay, don't they? They have kids. How do they do it? It's magic, huh? No one knows how to
it,
do that stuff.
it's magic. But we're gonna have to wrap it up here.
Yep.
It's pushing over 2 hours.
Yeah, it's because of Charlie Kirk at the end of it. Anyways,
Yeah.
it was. I think it was an interesting show. It was a little long. Um,
Well, it was going
have
to
a
be
good week.
short. At first, it was only an hour and 9 minutes. I didn't think we were going. I thought we were just going to do 15 or 20 minutes, but we went all over the place. Um, anyways, it was a good talk. Before we go, do you have the next idea is technically yours? Do you have any ideas?
What I'd like to do is discuss the philosophy from not just a religious aspect, but the extreme amount of novel ideas that were presented on the Sermon of the Mount, and those ideas to this day are still shocking, and people can't comprehend them. And I'd like to get your view on them, and maybe some of the people in the audience what they think about them, because they are shocking, and for the real world that most people live in, they're counterintuitive. And I'd like to discuss those things. And you can compare. I'd like you to take some other philosophies that are similar, and we can compare them.
Okay.
Because the Sermon on the Mount basically is all of Christianity in a short speech.
Okay. I'll read it and then I'll put together my ideas. So that'll be for Wednesday.
Yes, and we should probably get back to doing a little bit of crypto stuff too, because it's changing rapidly. We should probably talk about it, that and AI too.
Yeah. Well, I the reason I started, although I find it fascinating, it's changing so fast that there's no legs on the video. Like
That
as
is
soon as
true.
you do a video, you're immediately, basically
Out of
there's another,
date.
yeah, there's another thing. I mean, the amount of like, there have been probably literally 40 or 50 video models. I can't even use, I get on the waiting list. I get access to the model in beta, and then it releases and a new model comes out from another company that's slightly better. Then you get on that waiting list, and by the time I can't even use them before they're obsoleted. So, but yeah, I mean, I think crypto is probably going to have a big month. I think they're going to cut rates this month, so we should see
Yeah,
some movement.
we like to talk about DeFi and stuff. I think that's important. That's what people should be interested in.
I think maybe we should keep that on the old channel though.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll talk about that. I want to touch base with you Sunday evening if you can be available for 15 or 20 minutes.
Sure.
All right. Anyways, thank you guys. Please like and subscribe. For anybody that is showing up late, Robert,
Thank
please
you.
leave a comment. Please leave a comment. And have a good night, everybody. God bless.
Good night. Bless.